Welcome dear student and Jai Swaminarayan. Today in this video we will discuss about the common forces in the mechanics. What are the different types of the forces acting when the object is in the motion, when the object is stationary at the one surface, what type of the forces are acting on the object, right? Then after we discuss about a friction. What are the different types of the friction, advantages and the disadvantages of the friction, that the basic of the friction you were study in the previous standard 9, but here we discuss about the detail about a friction, how the friction occur on the when the two bodies are in a contact with the each other, that all the things we will discuss in this chapter. So dear student, now first we will discuss about the what are the different types of the forces in a mechanics, right? Because in the previous video we were discuss about when the resultant external force acting on the system is zero, right? The total linear momentum remains constant. So when the force is acting on the object, right? The object is in the motion, right or not? So what type of the force is acting on the object we need to understand, right? So let us start with the common forces in the mechanics. First, as the name force, right? As the force is the acting on the object, first we may know the gravitational force. So first force is the gravitational force acting on the body. We can say that the weight force on the body. So dear student, we know that all the gravitational force acting on the body, that is called the weight force, and the gravitational force is always acting on acts in the downward direction towards the center of the earth. So what is the gravitational force? The every object on the earth experience the force of the gravity due to the earth, right? So the gravitational force, so here the gravitational force is a force of the attraction of the earth, right? Earth attracts every object towards its center, and the gravitational force acting on the any object is called the weight of the object, right? That we know that. So every object on the earth experience the force due to the attraction of the gravity due to its mass, right? So motion of the celestial object can be understood with the gravitational force. So gravitational force can act at any distance without the need of the interleaving medium. That things we know that. So the gravitational force on the any object we calculated in the mechanics, right? And the gravitational force of the any object is a weight of an object on the earth. So if we consider the object on the surface of the earth, right, the gravitational force on the object is a weight force, and the gravitational force is always in the downward direction towards the center of the earth. So if we consider object of a mass m, if we consider the object having a mass m, the gravitational force on the object is equal to the m into g, or we can say that the weight force of a object is equal to m into g, and it is always in the downward direction, right? So if we consider the object of a mass m, the weight force of the object is m into g, where g is the acceleration due to gravity. We take the acceleration due to gravity is equal to 9.8, right, meter per second square. So the weight of the object w is equal to m into g, and it is always in the downward direction, right? Now second force is a contact force. So when the object is placed on a horizontal surface or any surface, the contact force is acting on the object, right, due to the contact of the object with the surface, right? So this type of the force is known as the contact force. As the name contact force, the contact force is exerted on the object due to the contact with the any other object or due to the contact with the surface, right? And this contact force is depends on the type of the surface, right? So let us see the contact force. A contact force on the object arises due to the contact with the some other object, or due to the contact with the some surface, due to the contact with the some other object, or we can say that the contact force arises due to the contact with the object, solids or fluids. So when the objects are in the contact with the other solid object, the contact force is exerted on the object. When the object is placed in the fluid or a liquid, the also the contact force is arising on the object, right? So when a bodies are in a contact, for example, if you consider a book resting on a table, a system of the rigid bodies connected by a rods, hinges and other type of the supports, right? There are mutual contact forces of each pair of the body satisfying the Newton's third law. So suppose we consider the object like this. Object is placed on the horizontal surface. The object exerts the force on the surface. Similarly, the surface exerts the force on the object according to the Newton's third law. So when the bodies are in a contact with the other body or contact with the rigid support, right, the forces are mutual contact forces are experienced on the object, right, exerted on the object according to the Newton's third law. So when the bodies are in a contact, when we place a book on a table, right, the force contact force are exerted on the book by a table. Similarly, the contact force are exerted on the table by a book, and both the forces are a same and opposite direction according to the Newton's third law. So this type of the contact force acting on the object due to the roughness of the surface, right? If we take the any surface, smooth surface, but there are a microscopic roughness are present in the surface, and due to this the roughness of the surface, the contact forces are arising on the object, right? So this type of the contact forces are acting on the object when the contact are placed on the horizontal surface, when the rigid system of the rigid bodies are connected by a string, when the system of the when the object is connected with the some rigid supports, the contact forces are acting on the object, right? So these contact forces, there are two components of the contact forces. One component is parallel to the surface and another component is perpendicular to the surface, right? So here the component of the contact force parallel to the surface is called the friction force, right? That we'll see later on. And the component normal to the surface is called the normal reaction force. So there are two components of the contact forces. The component of the contact force normal to the surface, that is called the perpendicular to the surface in a contact, is called the normal reaction force. It is indicated by a capital N. It is denoted by a capital R, or in the some textbook it is indicated by a capital R also, right? So the component of the contact force normal to the perpendicular to the surface, this component perpendicular to the surface is called the normal reaction force. It is denoted by capital N. In a some textbook it is also denoted by a capital R. So the here the capital N or a capital R is a normal reaction force, right? And in the normal reaction force, it always perpendicular to the surface, right? Normal to the surface. And second component, the component of the contact force parallel to the surface in a contact is called the friction force, right? So the component of the contact force parallel to the surface is called the friction force. So here the component of this contact force parallel to the surface is called the friction force. The friction force is denoted by a small f, right? So here two component, understand the two component of the contact force. When the two bodies are in a contact with each other, the contact force are acting on the bodies, and the two component of the contact force, first component of the contact force normal to the surface is called the normal reaction force, and the second component of the contact force parallel to the surface is called the friction force. So detail about the friction force we will discuss in later on in this video. right? Now another contact forces are arising also when the solids are in a contact with the fluids. When the solids are in a contact with the fluids, for example, when a solid is immersed in a fluid, there is an upward force beyond force exerted on the solid, right? According to the Archimedes principle, when the object is immersed partially or fully immersed in a liquid, upward force is exerted on the object, and this force is known as the beyond force, right? And this beyond force is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object, right? So when the object is placed in the liquid or gas, fluids that means a liquid, fluids that means the property which can flow, right? So liquid and gaseous are considered as a fluid. So here the when the solids is immersed in a fluid, there is an upward beyond force equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. So according to the Archimedes principle, when the solid is immersed partially or fully in the liquid, the upward force is exerted on the object, and that is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the object. Second one is the viscous force. So when the viscous force, air resistance force are also the examples of the contact force, right? So viscous force in the fluids, air resistance, that are also an example of the contact forces. So dear student, understand about the contact forces. There are two type of the contact forces. First, component of the contact forces perpendicular to the surface is called the normal reaction force, and component of the contact forces parallel to the surface is called the friction force, right? So dear student, remember this all the type of the contact forces: normal reaction force, friction force, beyond force, viscous force, and the air resistance force. Now next common force is the restoring force. Dear student, when a spring is compressed or extended by an external force, and then if we remove the external force, it will retain its original position. Why it retains its original position? Because of when we compress or extend a spring by an external force, due to the elasticity property of the spring, it will try to retain its original position, right? So the force generated in a spring that will try to retain its original position is called the restoring force. So the restoring force is a force that will retain the object in its original position. So the restoring force is exerted in the spring. So like this, when the spring is tied with the some rigid support, right? And at the end of one free end of the spring, if we place an object, right, what type of the forces? Due to the mass of the object, the gravitational force or the weight force is in the downward direction, and the restoring force is in the upward direction. So here the restoring force, what is the restoring force? The restoring force is a force generated in a spring that will try to retain its original position, and here the restoring force is always opposite to the external force. So suppose we elongate the spring, right? Suppose we extend the spring by an external force by our hand, right? The restoring force is in the opposite direction. Or suppose we compress a spring by our two fingers of our hand, right? We experience the restoring force, and this restoring force is always opposite to the external force, right? So what is the restoring force? So restoring force is a force generated in a spring that will try to retain its original position of the spring, right? Suppose we extended a spring. Suppose if we extended this spring by applying a force in this direction, right? So the restoring force always in the opposite to the external direction. So here the restoring force is in the upward direction, right? Or if we compress the spring, the restoring force is in the downward direction. So here we can say that the restoring force is always in the opposite to the external force, and the restoring force is a force that will try to retain the object in its original position, right? So how we can calculate this restoring force? The restoring force exerted in a spring or a string is directly proportional to the compression or elongation for a small displacement. So we can say that for a small displacement, the restoring force is directly proportional to the displacement, or we can say that the compression or the elongation. So suppose by applying an external force, the spring is displaced by a x, right? The displacement of the spring is a x. So here the restoring force produced in the string is directly proportional to the compression or the elongation, or we can say that the displacement also, right? So we can written that the restoring force F is directly proportional to the displacement x. So if we remove the proportionality, we require a one constant. So here the F is equal to minus kx, where F is the restoring force, x is the displacement of the spring, and k is the force constant. So what do you mean by the force constant? First of all, so here the force constant is the displacement per restoring force per unit displacement, right? So from this k, if you subject the k is equal to F divided by x. So restoring force produced in the spring per unit displacement is called the force constant. So unit of the force constant from this, Newton per meter. We can easily derive the dimensional formula of the force constant, right? So understand, dear student, what is the formula of the restoring force? The restoring force F is equal to k into x minus kx, right? Where k is the force constant of the spring. The force constant of the spring is depends on the type of the spring, type of the material, right? So what is the force constant? The force constant is defined as the restoring force produced in the spring per unit displacement, right? Unit of the force constant is a Newton per meter, and dimensional formula of the force constant you can easily derive from this equation. So here why we put this negative sign? The negative sign indicates that the restoring force is always opposite to the displacement, right? Understand, dear student? So dear student, understand what is the restoring force? The restoring force, that is the force in a spring or a string that will try to retain its original position. So you have to remember this equation of the restoring force. F is equal to minus k into x. Here the k is the force constant. Force constant depends on the type of the spring. Different type of the spring has a different force constant, and x is the displacement, right? So here the x displacement we take a increase in the length or a decrease in the length of the spring. So that will help in a solving a problems regarding a mechanics. So now next is the tension force in a string, right? So the restoring force in a string is called the tension force. It is denoted by a capital T. So it is customary to use a constant tension T throughout the string, right? So this is assumption is true for a string of the negligible mass. Suppose we consider this. Here the object is tied with the rigid support with the negligible mass. So mass of the string we comparatively very small compared to the object, right? So if we tied a object of a mass m in a string, the restoring force produced in a string is called the tension force. So here the tension force produced in the string and each part of the string. So here in all the direction, in all the string, the tension force produced, right? So here if we consider the equilibrium condition, so if we tied an object of a mass m, right, with the light string, right, inextendable string, right, a tension force produced in the string capital T, it is equal to mg. So here in the equilibrium condition, this both the force, tension force and the weight force are same, right? Next one is the buoyant force. Dear student, according to the Archimedes principle, we know that when the object is partially or fully immersed in the liquid, the upward force is exerted on the object. and this upward force is called the buoyant force, and the buoyant force is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by the object, right? How we can calculate, we will see in the fluid mechanics, right, chapter. So buoyant force, how we can calculate the buoyant force, we will discuss in the mechanics of the fluid mechanics, chapter number 10, right? So dear student, now we understand about a most important force, that is a friction force. What is the friction force? So dear student, previously we were discuss about when the object are in a contact with the other object, or when the object are in the contact with the surface, right? A contact force is arising due to the contact with the other object, right? And what is the friction? The component of this contact force parallel to the surface is called the friction force, right? So the friction force are arising in the object due to the contact with the other object or due to the contact with the surface, right? So friction force is a force, contact force, which is the component of the contact force which is parallel to the surface in a contact. Now we know that the friction is a force that opposes the motion of the object. So the friction force is always opposite to the direction of the motion. Remember dear student this point, right? It is a very important point, right? Friction force is always in the direction of opposite to the direction of the motion. So here the friction force opposes the motion of the object, so we can say that the friction force is always in the direction of the opposite to the direction of the motion, right? And the friction force is a type of the component of the contact force parallel to the surface, right? So here the magnitude of the friction force is depends on the roughness of the surface. For a rough surface the friction force is more, and for a smooth surface the friction force is a less, but we cannot neglect the friction force. If we consider the any smooth surface, there is some minor roughness is there. If you see from the microscope, right, there will be a microscopic roughness present in the surface, and due to this the friction force is exerted on the object. So the friction force is a force that opposes the motion of the object, and the friction force is always in the direction opposite to the direction of the motion. So dear student, so if we consider the object placed on the on any surface, right, the friction force is exerted on the object. Let us discuss the different types of the friction force. There are three types of the friction force. Suppose consider as shown in the figure, consider the object having a mass m, right, placed on the horizontal surface. So here the object is stationary. The friction exerted on the object which is stationary is called the static friction, right? So static friction is a friction between the object and the surface when the object is stationary or when the object is in a rest, right? So as shown in the figure, a block of a mass m is placed in the horizontal surface. So if we consider this block, the force is acting on the block. What type of the force is acting on this block? First one, due to mass, it has a weight force, and weight force is always in the downward direction. So we consider the force of gravity, or we can consider the weight force mg is always in the downward direction. Second, block is placed on the horizontal surface. So the normal reaction force is always normal to the surface, and normal force is exerted in the upward direction. So here if we consider these two type of the forces, right, the gravitational force weight force mg is cancelled by the normal reaction force. So in the equilibrium condition the normal reaction force and the weight force mg are same, right? So we can say that the block is stationary on the object. Now suppose we apply a small horizontal force in the direction, right? If we have a experience, when we apply a small horizontal force the object will not move in the direction of the force and the body remains rest. What this happen? How this happen? right? When we applying a small force in this direction of the in this direction, right? By applying a small force, the object will not move in the direction of the force. But if we think about the Newton first law, if we applying a small amount of the force, the object will move in the direction of the force. But here the object will not move in the direction of the force. The body remains rest, the object remains rest. So we can say that some force is acting on the object which is opposite to the external force, and this force is called the static friction force. So here the body remains at a rest because some other force comes into the play in the horizontal direction and oppose the applied force F, resulting in the zero net force on the body, and this force is known as the friction force, or we can say that the static force. So this force Fs parallel to the surface of the body in contact with the table is known as the static friction force. So here if we applying a small amount force according to the Newton first law, the object will move in the direction of the force, but it will not happen. Why? Because of the static friction force. So as we applying the external force, the static friction is exerted on the object, right? And which is opposite to the external force, which result the zero net force. So this external force is cancelled by a static friction force. So dear student, understand this static friction. What is the static friction? Now how we can calculate the static friction? So dear student, static friction depends on when there is no external force, there is no static friction. It comes into play the moment there is the external force is applied. So dear student, if we apply the external force, the static friction generated on the object, right? If there is no applied force, there is no static friction or any type of the friction acting on the object, right? Now as the applied force F increases, the static friction also increases and remaining equal and opposite to the applied force up to the certain limit, keeping the body at a rest. Therefore it is called the static friction. So as here we applied the as we are here we increasing the applied force, the static friction is also increasing but up to the certain limit and keep the body at a rest, body at a stationary, and that's why this type of the friction is known as the static friction, right? So up to the certain limit, the external force and the static force are equal, but as we applied the force exceed a certain limit, as we applied a force greater than the maximum static friction acting on the object will move, the body begins to move, and this is called the maximum static friction, Fs maximum. So beyond the certain limit, if we applied a more external force, the object will starts to move, and this external force is called the maximum static friction, right? So here the maximum static friction does not depends on the contact area. So maximum static friction depends on which factor? So the maximum static friction does not depends on the contact area. So the maximum static friction depends on the first one is the type of the surface, and second one is the normal reaction force. So first we consider the type of the surface. So here the maximum static friction depends on the type of the surface. For a smooth surface, the static friction, maximum static friction is a less, and for a rough surface, the maximum static friction is a more, right? So understand dear student, here the maximum static friction does not depends on the contact area. The maximum static friction depends on the type of the surface, and the maximum static friction depends on the normal reaction force. So for a smooth surface, the maximum static friction is a less, and for a rough surface the maximum static friction is a more, right? So here the maximum static friction is depends on the normal reaction force. The maximum static friction is directly proportional to the normal reaction force. So we can write like this: Fs maximum, that is the maximum static friction, is proportional to the normal reaction force, right? So if we remove this proportionality, we require one constant. So if you put a constant Fs maximum is equal to mu s into n, where mu s is the constant of the proportionality and it is called the coefficient of the static friction. So here the coefficient of the static friction is depends on the type of the surface. For the different type, the coefficient of the static friction is a different, right? For a smooth surface, the coefficient of the static friction is less, and due to this we can say that the static friction is a less. For the rough surface, the coefficient of the static friction is a more, so we can say that the friction is a more. But we know that here the normal reaction force in the equilibrium condition, the normal reaction force N is equal to mg, right? So if you put the N is equal to mg, we can calculate the maximum static friction Fs maximum is equal to mu s into m into g, right? So this equation is helpful in example to calculate the static friction, maximum static friction acting on the object when the object is in the equilibrium. So dear student, understand how we can calculate the static friction. If the coefficient of the static friction is given to you and the mass of the object is given to you, we can easily calculate the maximum static friction Fs maximum. Fs maximum is equal to mu s into m into g. Now, up till now, when we apply the external force, and if the external force is less than or equal to the maximum static friction, the object will not move in the direction of the external force, right? But if the external applied force is greater than the maximum static friction, the object will move in the direction of the applied force and the static friction becomes zero and the kinetic friction turns into account, right? So what do you mean by the kinetic friction? Second type of the friction is a kinetic friction, or we can say the sliding friction. So when the external force acting on the object placed in the horizontal surface exceeds the Fs maximum. What is the Fs maximum? Maximum static friction. So when the external force acting on the object is greater than the Fs maximum, maximum static friction, the block begins to slide on the surface. Block begins to move on the surface. Now it is found experimentally that when the relative motion has started, the frictional force decreases from the maximum static friction, right? So here if the object is moved on the horizontal surface, the friction force is decreases from the maximum static friction, and the frictional force that oppose the relative motion between the surface in the contact is called the kinetic friction, or we can say that the sliding friction, and is denoted by a Fk, right? So here the static friction is denoted by a Fs. So when the object is in the motion, the frictional force that oppose the relative motion between the surface and the block is called the kinetic friction, and it is denoted by the Fk. Also, as the static friction, also the kinetic friction is independent of the area of the contact, right? So the kinetic friction is independent of the area of the contact. So the kinetic friction is directly proportional to the normal reaction force. So we can say that Fk is proportional to the N. If we remove this proportionality, we require to put a constant, that is the mu into K. So we get the equation of the kinetic friction. Fk is equal to mu K into N, where N is the normal reaction force and normal reaction force is equal to the weight force. So where mu K is the coefficient of the kinetic friction and N is the normal reaction force, and in the equilibrium condition the normal reaction force, it is equal to the weight force of the object, right? Practically we can say that here one important thing is that the coefficient of the static friction is greater than the coefficient of the kinetic friction. So we can say that the static friction is a more compared to the kinetic friction. Understand what do you mean by the kinetic friction and what do you mean by the static friction? Now third type of the friction is a rolling friction. So when the object like a sphere, ring, disc, right, are rolling without slipping over the horizontal surface, right, the friction acting on the object is called the rolling friction, right? So like this, when the object is rolling on the surface without slipping, the friction acting on the object is called the rolling friction. The rolling friction is less compared to the kinetic friction and the static friction. Approximately, the rolling friction is 1000 times less than the kinetic friction, and because of these advantages, right, some ways of the reducing the friction, we use a rolling friction, because here the rolling friction is less compared to the all the two type of the friction, kinetic friction and the static friction. So here the static friction is the maximum, kinetic friction is less than the static friction, and the rolling friction is less than the kinetic friction and the static friction, right? So that is the example. So here the ball bearing placed between the moving parts of the machine, right? We place a ball bearing in the moving part of the machine to reduce the friction, because in this, if you place a ball bearing, the rolling friction is exerted and we can reduce the friction, right? The compressed cushion of the air between the surface of the relative motion. So use of the ball bearing in the different part of the machine is a way to reduce the friction, right? So how we can reduce the friction? Using, because here the rolling friction is less than the compared to the all other friction, right? So now, dear student, the advantages and disadvantages of the friction. So, advantages and the disadvantages of the friction, you have studied in the standard 9. So, this you have to write by yourself. So, dear student, understand this all the type of the common forces in the mechanics, right? Thank you very much for watching my video.